Harriette, hi. Thank you so
Hello.
much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me. I feel honored to be your first guest on your new show. So I'm
Yes,
very honored.
exactly. This is my first episode of a brunch in English. I don't know how it's going to come out because, well, I don't speak English as often as I used to. And also, for some reason, my accent has shifted so much in the last year. And I don't know if it has to do with the fact that I've been watching like a lot of TV shows with
Yeah, Netflix.
yeah, Netflix. I mean, what is going on? Like,
It's the same. It's the same for me. Yeah, when I'm in Guatemala, there's a lot of Americans, more Americans than British people, and obviously even Guatemalans speak English with an American accent. So my accent's all over the place as well. So
I
even in
know.
my own language.
Yeah, me too. Like, I'm an accent person. Like, I always have an accent. Even in Venezuelan, I have an accent. I always have an accent. And of course, right in English, I have always had an accent. But now that I'm watching, like, first I watched The Crown. Then
Oh
I
yes, that was good.
did you like that?
I watched that over Christmas. Yeah, I watched that over Christmas. It was. I've been resisting it for a while, but I finally gave in, and yeah, I did not regret it. It was great. I learned so much about the royal family.
I know, I know, and I'm just shocked at how many facts they put on there. I'm pretty,
Yeah, I felt I was learning. I felt it was kind of like, almost like a documentary, but.
yeah, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of things were made up because
Oh yeah, of course. Surely, right? Surely.
you
Some
had
of
to
the
be
stuff in there.
like the curtains or like the sheets to know that.
Right, right.
And
Yeah. I wonder what the royal family think of it. I wonder what they think about it. I'd love to know what conversations they've had about it.
I know, I'm pretty sure the Queen watched it, like watched
Oh,
the
I'm
like.
sure. Wouldn't you? I would definitely. I would if it was me, but maybe
Yeah,
not. I
yeah,
don't
me
know.
too. And then I watched Peaky Blinders, which I also loved.
I still didn't get it. I watched the first couple of episodes and then I got onto something else. I haven't. It's on my list though to persevere with that one. I've heard Emma was really into that. Mine.
Now I just finished watching the Bridgertons, which I am currently
Oh,
living for.
is it good? I've been resisting that one too, but
Okay,
is it
don't
good?
don't resist anymore.
Don't.
Like just let it go.
Okay.
Like why would you deny you that pleasure? Like I
Uh-huh.
just make sure. Okay, this is the advice I give everyone that I've recommended the shows to. Um, First, you need to turn off your expectations. Then you
Right.
then you need to turn off your prejudices. How do you say it?
Prejudices.
Okay,
Prejudices.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
You need to turn off that too, and your phone. Okay, and from there, just enjoy everything. Enjoy that gift that Shonda Rhimes is giving you because it's completely amazing. I mean, I had no expectations whatsoever with
Right.
the show, and now I just want to live in the Regency era. I just want to wear headpiece, you know, headpiece
With all the
everywhere.
clothes and
Yeah, like a hat and a cane. Have someone help me with my undergarments.
all right, that's good. I'm just about to finish a show, so I'm on the lookout for something new, and I've seen it. I'm like, oh, everyone on the radio is. I've been listening to the radio a lot recently, and they're like, oh, Bridgerton. I'm like, oh, should I do it?
Yeah,
So,
just do it. Like, why? Why would you? Like,
all
I
right, I'll do it.
really liked it. I know I've been talking to a lot of people who have watched it, and they said, it wasn't that a big deal. And I said, yeah, because you didn't turn up your expectations. You had expectations
Okay, right.
beforehand, and I think that is the problem. But
Right.
yeah,
Noted.
I loved it. It's spotless. Is I just love the characters. I could say
Uh-huh.
that I'm completely in love with the male main character, but I won't say
Oh,
that because I'm completely in love with both main characters, both female and male, because she is
Oh,
so beautiful. I mean, is she even made of bones and flesh, or
real.
something? Her eyebrows are amazing.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to. Wow. Well, that's definitely my evening activity sorted for tonight. Great.
Yeah, just do it, because right now you're quarantining, right?
Yeah. So I'm in Dublin right now. I'm looking forward to leaving soon. Yeah, I'm coming back to Guatemala on Saturday. Yeah, so I've been here well over a week now, and before that and it's complete lockdown here as well as in the UK. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to going back now. It's been about 2.5 months out of Guatemala, and I just miss the sun. I miss my dog. Obviously, I kind of miss my boyfriend, but
I don't miss him.
a bit.
Yeah, a bit. Wow. I don't know what he has to say about this.
Yeah, he struggled a bit. Yeah, because I think in Guatemala the culture is quite different. It's very kind of, everyone stays in the family, right? They live with their grandma and grandpa, and everyone stays close. And it's not. I feel like in Europe, it's kind of, I know people are kind of used to kids and family members going away for a while. So for him, I think within that culture, it was difficult for me to be away for so long.
Right.
So anyway, he's fine. He's looking forward to me coming back. So
great.
I'm looking forward to it as well.
Of course. I think that is very common on all Latin American culture.
Okay, all right, yeah. Interesting. What's your, because obviously what do you think? Do you think that's accurate, or do you
it's completely accurate. I mean, if it was for my dad, we would all live in like a super huge house with all of our kids and sisters and spouses, and just be all together like a big family, have barbecue on the weekends.
I mean, it's great.
Okay, we can be together, but not like scrambled.
Right.
And I'm of that thinking, but if it was for them, we would all be like together, sleeping all in one bedroom. I don't know. This is a little exaggerated.
Yeah, as well in I don't know about Venezuela so much, but I know in Guatemala at least, kids, even when you go to university, you're still living at home. So there's no like student accommodation as well. So it's not like you don't leave home. Of course, it's so Catholic. You don't leave home until you're married. So Daniel, he's now my husband actually. His brothers are like 30 odd, and they're still living at home because they're not married yet, as well. They never even left home to go to university, unlike in the UK where everyone just leaves home when you're 18 to go to university.
Or in the United States, I remember I lived there, and I remember I was living with this family, with this American family. And all their kids were away, because they were in college, and they were actually looking forward to that moment when they turned 18 and left home. And it was like, why? Like, does it bother you?
It's the same in England. Yeah, it's the same in England. Like, you want to go to university that's as far away as possible from your parents. No, it was really nice going home for Christmas. And just spending like quality time with my parents. I mean, after a while, I started acting like a teenager, going, "Oh, mom, oh, dad," a bit. But I kind of revert back to like an adolescent again. But yeah, I think you value them a lot, your family a lot more when you have a bit of distance. But it was really nice to be home, and I saw snow in England, which I hadn't seen for a long time, and.
It was a blizzard, right? I mean, I don't know if you had a blizzard, but I did see that you had a lot of snow.
Yeah, we had a lot of snow. In other parts of the country, there was a lot more. Where I was in Oxford, we only had a couple of days, but it was still nice. It was really nice to have that contrast from what I was used to at Guatemala. So it was
because what is it like? Like, I want to talk to you about this. Like, what is the reality of living in Guatemala, because I now have a few friends who live in Central America, and it's just so beautiful, so much nature. I mean, there is an erupting volcano outside your window. Like, how are
Right
you
now,
guys
yes.
okay with that?
Yeah, no, I mean, God, where do I start? Yeah, the natural beauty of Guatemala is incredible. Yes, you know, it's I I don't think I hope I never get used to or take for granted the beauty of the volcanoes that you see in the distance, and you see like the orange glow of the volcano in the distance, and the smoke coming out, and it's obviously at a safe distance from where I live. So that's something to be, we're never like, oh, although obviously there was a huge eruption a couple of years ago, which really did devastate a lot of villages that were on the actual volcano, right? But where I live, it's not. It's far enough away to see it and appreciate it, but not close enough to kind of fear for your life or whatever.
Right.
So it's very beautiful. It's obviously got it's got the rainforest up in the north, and it's got a beautiful lake, and the weather. They call it the country of eternal spring, because the weather is always it's not too hot, not too cold, not too humid, not too dry. It's just perfect. Kind of like the Goldilocks kind of type analogy. So yeah, it's always nice temperature, and I think that the culture for me as well, the people, the people are very warm and welcoming, and the culture is really interesting, right? It has well over 20 different languages, and for such a tiny country of about 16 million people, it's very rich cultural heritage, as you would say.
Was it difficult to like adapt to the new culture?
The new life.
Yeah, that's life in general.
Yeah. Well, before I got to Guatemala, I was living in Costa Rica for a bit of time, which in itself was also difficult too, and different culture, although quite nearby. Yes, well, I moved from Costa Rica to Guatemala on my own. I brought a little dog with me, but that was about it, and a backpack. And I went to Guatemala just for a job. I didn't know anyone there, so yeah, it was tough when I started out. But I just love I love Latin culture. I wanted to go and work for a nonprofit somewhere nearby. Near to Costa Rica. So yeah, obviously it's tough when you move anywhere on your own, I think, even if it's within your own country, right? But no, I soon made friends, and got into the swing of things, and now it's my life, and I have a life there. I'm planning to buy a house, and planning to kind of getting my residency and everything. So it's my home now, which is kind of, it's nice. I've kind of settled now, because I have traveled a lot throughout my life, and moved around a bit, and I feel like finally I've found my country that I would like to stay in for a bit.
Oh, that is awesome. That is still important to find a place where to call home, because it has happened to me. When you live in so many places, you take like a bit of every place, of every culture you live in, and at the end of the day, you are like a complete different person. Like for me, I'm too Spanish for Venezuelans. I'm too Venezuelan for the Spanish. Like, I'm not from anywhere anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't feel like I belong anywhere, but I belong to many places. But at the same time, I do feel like at least Spain or Seville is my city. I spent my adulthood.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I think when you've traveled around a lot, and you're from not from where you live, I think I don't think it's very difficult to feel like you belong, right? But you know what, I think I don't know if I ever really felt I belonged in the UK either.
Thank you. Same
Right?
here. Likewise.
I just, even in my own country, I still felt like I was different. I still felt like I didn't want to follow the traditional path of, just there's nothing wrong with taking the traditional route. And I was talking
course.
to one of my other friends the other day who's definitely not a traditional either. She's married to a Guatemalan and living in the UK and as well. And it's just, I think sometimes, you don't fit the mold. And I think it's quite uncomfortable when you're going through that when you're 20s and things, with I don't fit in. But ultimately, I think as you grow older, I think you get to know yourself and you get more comfortable with who you are, and actually you stop caring about.
Right. I think that's you nailed it there. Like, it's not only that you started belonging, because then you do. Like, for example, in my case, I tend to see the reaction of people after knowing me for a few years, for example, that they kind of like forget that I'm an outsider. Like, I'm not from here. Like, they tend to forget that when they actually get to know me and they get used to seeing me around, basically. But also, I just don't care if they just don't.
They get it or not.
Exactly.
I think also people just like to put people in categories, right? People like to put you in a box, like, even if you're in a taxi or in an Uber or whatever, the taxi driver's just desperate to pigeonhole me, so where are you from? Why are you here? Are you married? Do you have kids? Why don't you have kids? There's just, people just like to put you in a box because it helps them make sense of the world for them, I think.
Right. But I don't know if you have tried to like invent an alter ego and just say like, because I've done that actually, since my name, like, people has so much trouble pronouncing my full name. I just go by Irene, and they think
Irene.
Irene.
Okay,
my name is Iranis, which is like, I'm one of a kind because my mom just like made up that name.
I was wondering that. I was like, I don't think I've ever met an Iranis.
No, and tell me if you actually do, because
I will.
I've never met an Iranis myself. So, for example, at the hairdresser, or something that probably
I have done that.
You have done that, right?
So yes, definitely. So in my I have a similar issue with Harriette being in England. It's okay, but in a Latin America, in Guatemala, it's too much. It's too much for people. My middle name is Elizabeth, so my alter ego, I guess, in Guatemala for Guatemalans, when I meet Guatemalans, is my name is Elizabeth. So on my so I now just introduce myself as Elizabeth. So I guess, and to all my husband's family, I'm Elizabeth. So I guess that's kind of like my Guatemalan personality is Elizabeth. And even actually, when I was in Chile for a while, I had the same issue, and I don't know why, but I gave myself the name Javiera, just kind of like similar to Harriette, but even though it's an ugly name, I think.
I'm sorry about all the Javieras out there, but it's just like, it's a name that I don't know, but I get that it's pretty common in the South, actually, Javiera.
Oh, okay, right. I think maybe, I've been told it's an ugly name. I wouldn't even know. I know a Javier, and I was looking I was on the street in Chile looking at bracelets they were selling with names on, and there was one that said Javiera. I'm like, that kind of sounds like Harriet, so I'll be Javiera. So in Chile, I was known as Javiera. So
I love this story.
So that kind of helped. It does make a difference changing your name, and then watching people embarrassed because they can't remember your name or can't say it, and it's like, what, let's just make this all easier for everybody and give myself an easier name.
Harriette, you and I met last year when I became your mentor in the early stages of Pionero. And now I can say that you are the CEO of the largest database of Guatemalan nonprofits. Is that accurate?
That is completely accurate. Yes. And it's, by default, but yes, you can say that. Amazing. We can say that with complete confidence. Yes.
Yeah. And let me tell you that when I first heard of Pionero, I just instantly clicked with the values that you wanted to convey.
Aw.
Like the whole idea was amazing. Also, I clicked with you and with Emma, who is
Yes.
your colleague. Um,
Uh-huh.
and it was amazing. And now a year after, you have this interactive map.
Yeah, we launched last week. Yeah.
Tell me more. Like,
Where do I start, Ira?
yeah, what have changed in the last year, in 2020, which is not any year?
What's changed? So we met when we were going through like a really interesting stage of Pionero, where we knew our values, we knew what we wanted to achieve, but we were still kind of struggling with like what that would look like, and we wanted to really make sure we'd thought everything through. So we really wanted a mentor and a program that would make us really think through the viability of what we're doing, and whether it's of value, and how that would work. So last year, with the pandemic, we planned it anyway for last year, but it was just it was relatively good time, because all of last year was about our digital platform, and how we were going to be offering our services, given that we are based in Guatemala. We need to have something to offer, that a really great solid brand, a solid website, and some solid services that we can offer through a website. So since we finished Bridge for Billions and things, we rebranded, which you were completely instrumental in helping us with. We launched a new website, and we now have this interactive map on our website, which is linked to a database. It's basically a visualization of our database of almost 9,000 nonprofits in Guatemala, registered in Guatemala or in the US. With all their information, variety of 9 filters of how you can filter those nonprofits and how you can see them, as well as 65 demographic indicators and visualizations on there too. So yeah, we launched last week, officially, as in like on social media. We launched last week. So this weekend, I was actually just going through all the emails of the consequences of that. So it's an exciting time. It's kind of a nail-biting time for me right now, because it's kind of feel like we're trying to fly, and we're kind of trying to get some momentum. So we don't know where we're going to land. But I'm excited about all the feedback we've been getting from many different people. So yeah, it's that's where we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess that you never know where you're going to land. As an entrepreneur, you always have this, you will take that leap of faith,
Yes.
you always, but as long as you have this structure, and as long as you know where you want to get, which is something that we work together. And also what are the values that you want to convey, what you want to get. But I remember that we went through a lot of things, a lot of changes, because first it was all about consultancy, or it was about like larger donors, and then we started working with other kinds of clients or customer segments, and we talked about the map, and we talked about a lot of things on Pionero. And I think that this process of stopping and taking the time to just deliver, or plan everything before delivering, it's vital. Rethinking everything. Go back to the basics.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's important to look at all the options, right, and to methodically go through the options and the logic, and the what and the reason why you're doing it. You start with the reason why, and your mission and your values, and then so it was important for us to go through with a mentor, just to check, like, have we considered everything? Have we thought this through? Are we sure? Because it it's kind of like growing pains, right? But we really we needed to go through that process to feel confident in what we were offering. And we're still in the process of seeing how that goes, and of course we'll still have to make some adjustments, I'm sure. I think that just everyone has to, make adjustments.
As long as you always connect with that why you started this, you trust your gut feeling, because on the long run, throughout your journey, your venture journey, let's say, you will find a lot of no's, a lot of but why did you do this?
I just cannot deny the value of what we're doing, the value of having good, verified, vetted information about the nonprofit environment in a developing country. We started with a small country that has a lot of issues, and there's a lot of actors involved. You just cannot deny the importance of having access to information, which there just wasn't before. And with Guatemala having, and just Central America in general having not a great reputation for things like corruption, money laundering, which nonprofits are involved in, sadly. It was just essential to have a better information source. I'm not saying we have all the answers, but it's a good starting point for anyone who wants to look into Guatemala and the nonprofit environment there, and so they can help make their own decisions through using the information we have.
Since we started working together, because I worked with nonprofits before, and I would donate, or I would try to participate or get involved somehow. But then after all this, and after I got to understand better nonprofits and how they worked and how they get funding. So I've been reading a lot about this, and I found out about this called the nonprofit industrial complex, which I never heard of before. Which is basically that, there are nonprofits that collaborate with governments and with corporations, for example, and somehow how they all work together, somehow it's not the best way. So the grassroots, for example, which you actually focus on Pionero, are like completely different from the other nonprofits that are not on the ground, that probably have a CEO or have like a full corporation out there that never get to see the actual impact, or they are not connected to the causes
to the community.
What is the difference between grassroots and other kinds of philanthropy, like foundations, or like social responsibility, like corporate social responsibility, and kind of
great question. So we so nonprofits come in all shapes and sizes. There's good, bad, and ugly, as I always say. But we grassroots nonprofits, to me, and are in that typically we like to focus on are based on and in their communities. They have local leadership. They're very connected to their beneficiaries and their stakeholders where they operate. So they are useful. They're really good mechanisms for responding to local issues. That bigger nonprofits, quite frankly, aren't, and even governments up to a certain extent, especially in certain developing countries. Like, especially, I can speak for Guatemala. Reflecting on obviously on COVID, we saw a lot of our partner nonprofits who are grassroots, smaller nonprofits. They basically turned into aid agencies because they knew that their communities needed help. They could act fast. They knew what families and where they were and the needs and the economic situation of those families. And they turned into aid agencies because basically the government and bigger nonprofits weren't acting fast enough, and they didn't have the local knowledge. So those are the kind of grassroots nonprofits that I have a real soft spot for, and that are mostly a lot of our partner nonprofits that we have do detailed evaluations and that we really champion. So out of the almost 9,000 nonprofits on our map, in our database, there are about 45 and growing, but we have limited resources to grow. But anyway, we have 45 partner nonprofits that are grassroots led and are really outstanding leaders in their local communities. So those are the grassroots ones that are based in their communities, locally led, and those are also typically the nonprofits that typically don't have the resources to be doing big promotional campaigns, to be doing TV advertising, to be doing outreach to big donors. They might not be able to even speak English or even Spanish. Some of them, they speak, their local languages. So those are the nonprofits that we like to champion, to kind of help along the way with giving them more visibility through our website. So yeah, the bigger nonprofits, such as the big ones, which I'm sure everyone can bring to mind, they do partner with smaller grassroots nonprofits, so they do have a role to play, and they have they have a huge role to play, those bigger organizations, especially because they have a lot more transparency mechanisms, accountability mechanisms that are more squeaky clean. But they also have big overhead costs. They have big admin costs. They're not as connected to communities. So those are those bigger players that we don't partner with because they don't need us, quite frankly. They have their own fundraising teams and things. But those are the kind of the broad differences. And then obviously you have institutions like the World Bank, and you have those development banks and the UN, that are big institutions that also give a lot of money, but through nonprofits, usually your bigger nonprofits. And then obviously you have the governments that do some programs through nonprofits. But yeah, I don't want to, there's a whole landscape there of getting resources to where it's needed. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Right. One of the things I think that is very important of Pionero is that vetting. That why is it important to have that, to
the vetting process.
Yeah, the vetting process. But not only that, me as donor, why should I go past the first 2 pages of my Google search? Because what I see a lot is that when people try to get involved, they just probably donate something, but they just don't follow that money, or they just don't see the actual outcome or the effect that donation has. And it's usually because something happened, like, okay, hurricane, blah, blah, aid.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's not, because the difference I see also is that people are having cold feet sometimes in putting money out there, because they want to help, but probably they just don't see what their money is
the impact. I mean, with things like helping with like hurricane relief, a lot of times, I especially saw it in Guatemala, that people set up like GoFundMe campaigns and all this kind of stuff to help their local community. And actually, sadly, there were quite a few of those GoFundMe campaigns in Guatemala that were just scams. So someone might share a GoFundMe campaign and it's goes nowhere. So that's obviously your money could literally just be going to an individual, and that's obviously not what you want. But also with some nonprofits, you need to do, if you really want to be sure of the impact of the impact that you're going to make with your donation, it is worth doing a bit of homework. I mean, you can go on Google and look at the nonprofit, and but ultimately, it's kind of the nonprofit on their webpage or their Facebook obviously they're going to be positive what they're doing and everything, which is obvious for obvious reasons. So there is a benefit to having a third-party evaluator who's got no agenda going on, in terms of like, we have a lot of nonprofits that want to be partners. So it's not like we're desperate for partners. We actually have a backlog of evaluations to do. So we've actually really focused more on quality rather than quantity, to really make sure that the nonprofits that we verify and that we go through the whole evaluation process, I'm happy to put my reputation, my name to those nonprofits that we partner with, because they do genuinely have demonstrated that they make a huge impact with the money that they use. So yeah, I mean, especially if you're giving a lot of money. I mean, if you're just giving $5, $10, I mean, maybe that's, you don't care so much. But if you're giving a fair amount of money, you want to make sure that every dollar that you donate through that is used as well as possible, right? And creating the outcome that you want to create, rather than going, to I don't know, to big salaries or to very high costs of that nonprofit. You want to see it going to projects and to the impact you want to make.
Yeah, and one of the questions I kept asking during the mentorship was, okay, so why would your client, which is, for example, a big donor, as you were saying, okay, if you're putting a fair amount of money, why would you put a fair amount of money in Guatemala? Why would you invest there instead of something that is in your community? What is
right? Well, oh yes. So why Guatemala, right? Why Guatemala? Look, there are many amazing causes everywhere around the world in every country. I'm not going to say Guatemala is number one about there are so many worthy causes in every country, right? And yeah, so I mean, firstly, that's it's we have to say that first. I think for Guatemala, if you are from, I don't want to get too kind of political here, but if you are from the US and you look into a bit of recent history about the US involvement in Central America and Latin America in general, there's been a fair amount of involvement from the US in kind of meddling in politics and the development of a lot of these countries. So there's a lot of, I feel there's a bit of responsibility if you're from the US and from the US government, I would say to take some level of responsibility for the past and what that has happened and the result of that. I don't want to go into details, but the whole 36-year civil war in Guatemala, a lot of it was instigated and catalyzed by the US administration foreign affairs. Well, that's one. I don't want to get too.
Of course, but I do know that there are a lot of like white people. As I told you, I went to high school in the middle of America, and I know there are a lot of people that are aware of this. Like, and actually feel they have some kind of responsibility, and so they have, even though they didn't do that, and that was probably a lot of years ago. They would tell you,
yes, and it's nothing to do with them. They weren't in the government. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and but I don't know. For me, as an English woman, and my country actually is not really that interested in Guatemala in as much as the US, for example, because of our history isn't as connected as the US. For example, the UK is a lot more keen to help ex-countries that were in the colony, our colony, right? So in Africa. So this is why the UK has a lot more interest in Africa. Because of the past, the colonial past and that colonial guilt, right? But to be honest, good. I'm glad the UK has colonial guilt and is trying to repair some of that damage.
Yeah, I think I genuinely believe that there are people that feel that they somehow have responsibility, even though they weren't the doers. They weren't there, but somehow they say, okay, my government or the government that represents my country or the system that exists in my country affects so much other countries that are not like very close. I mean, they are close, but they don't share borders, for example.
Yeah.
But they feel like that a lot of problems that exist in Guatemala, let's say, were encouraged or were propelled by.
Yeah.
In some.
Yeah, and it is true, and it's actually, you know, it's an undeniable fact nowadays, the US involvement and in counterinsurgency campaigns and basically breaking down the democratic government in Guatemala, which led to a huge amount of bloodshed, 36-year civil war, and a huge step back in development for Guatemala. And actually, it's considered a genocide nowadays for what happened in Guatemala. That's what it's considered. So, you know, I think it's kind of, it's always, I don't like to kind of go on and on and on about these political points, but I also feel it's something that should be honored and mentioned because it happened, and it shouldn't be forgotten. So that's one big reason, one big reason, and that's, you know, that's more from a US point of view. Perspective there. So as a result of, you know, the level of development in Guatemala is very low, and the systems that resulted, that the systems of government institutions in Guatemala are still very, very antiquated and corrupt, and there's still a lot of work to do there. So as a result, there's basically two populations in Guatemala, two broad populations, right? You have the indigenous populations, which are typically hugely more disadvantaged and poorer, have higher malnutrition rates, higher illiteracy rates than the Ladino Spanish-speaking population. So there's these huge disparities. There's a huge amount of inequality, huge amount of corruption. So there's a lot of work to be done, last point I would say is that your dollar, your euro, your you know, more developed country currency goes so far in Guatemala. So this is kind of what I always say, is actually giving money to a great nonprofit. You know, you're kind of magnifying your effect by 10 times compared to if you were to go over there and donate stuff from your own country and bring it, you know, because things are just so much cheaper to buy there, and your currency just goes so much further. So even if you're just donating, you know, $5-10 to a nonprofit in Guatemala, in the US or in Spain, that wouldn't buy you very much, but in Guatemala, that would buy you a hell of a lot of school supplies for a class.
The thing is, what I admire so much is that you personally and or other people that work at Pionero go personally to these nonprofit organizations and see the impact that those donations are doing and what they are doing with that money. The actual beneficiaries of those donations. And you can tell.
This is why we really focus on quality rather than quantity, because our evaluation process really is quite laborious. Well, I wouldn't say laborious, and it sounds, that's got a negative connotation, but the fact that we actually do go in person, you know, is something that we take pride on, and we want these relationships with our partners to be long-term relationships and to for them to be really meaningful. So we not only also, you know, try and connect donors and things with them, but loads of other things too. We try and connect nonprofits to other nonprofits, and we have a huge amount of information that we share with them for free. So all our demographic information, all the information we have on those 8,000-9,000 nonprofits, we share for free with our partners as well, because we want to be more than, we want to be really a partner. We don't want to just be, oh, just, you know, try and find you some money or whatever. We want to really be supporting them and giving them resources to improve their ratings, because now we're starting a rating system and giving seals of excellence to our nonprofits. So we want to be giving a lot of resources to them. So, well, if you're a bronze level now, here are some resources to get you up to a gold. So once you get to a gold, you're even more likely to get more attention from outside sources. So so we really do feel like we know the nonprofits very well, and yeah, I was my motto last year was, you know, quality not quantity of nonprofits. Even though we have information on quantity, our partners really are quality, yeah, we really believe in them.
You inspire me so much. of the drive you have. I mean, you started this project from scratch, but
Yeah.
also you had a job before, you started this project having a day, well, we can call a day job, but it's a day job in Chinese time, right? Because
Oh God,
okay,
it's
tell
still
me about
going
it.
on.
You were teaching English to Chinese kids.
Yeah, so yeah, Pionero really is a labor of love. It really is my passion, as you can probably tell. You know from how I speak and how I talk about Pionero. It really is it is a passion of mine, because I just, as you know, I just see the huge value of it. So when I started Pionero, I was like, well, this is going to take a bit of time to build, and this isn't going to be making. We're not going to be getting donations or support for this overnight, because also, you know. We are a non-profit ourselves, but we're not. We're a non-profit that's not necessarily hugely attractive to fund, because I hate to say it, but we don't have a load of cute kids that we can parade out and say, oh, look at these kids that you can help. We don't have cute animals that we can say, help the animals. We can't do those. I mean, not that I would like to, but Pionero is quite a difficult, especially when we haven't got a product or something to present to people, although we do now. It still is difficult, but it was especially difficult in the beginning when we were starting, because I literally just started out with an idea. I know everyone just starts out with an idea, but it's a few years of just having an idea and having to not argue my case, but really justify it to myself and everybody. So I had to fund it somewhere else. And as I said, because money does go very far in Guatemala, I was lucky to be able to get the opportunity to teach English online to Chinese kids. I wake up at 3 a.m. and I teach for about 3 or 4 hours. And so I'm done earning my money until at like 7:30. Obviously after a lot of coffee, and then I would start my day with Pionero. So yeah, that's how dedicated I am and how passionate I am. And it's kind of I feel we've now got to a point now, after going through the process with you, that we're ready to kind of, we have something to show, we have something to present to bigger funders, so for bigger grants, perhaps, to other donors, and we have a much nicer brand thanks to you helping with that, and a nicer website with better SEO ranking stuff. So we're now ready to kind of hopefully take off, and I feel like I've definitely put in a lot of work to get to where we are today.
Definitely.
But you've got to be, it's a test of commitment. It's a test of my passion, and it's tested me. But every time I'm questioning myself a lot. Every entrepreneur, you always question yourself. Like, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? But every time I'm like, I have this little voice inside of me. It's like, no, just keep going. Just keep going.
But trust that gut feeling, that, okay, yeah. I really believe in this. I'm going to tell you this story because I watched the masterclass of the founder of Spanx.
Yes. She's great.
She's amazing. And she started out with $5,000 she had saved. And she didn't quit her day job, which was selling fax machines, cold door, until that product was on the retailer stores. But you could work on that like at nights and during the weekends, and she was super tired. She would go to the retailer stores, put like a stand, and stay there the whole day just selling her product, because she believed so much in that. And she only had one product, which was Spanx and like the pantyhose. And she really believed in that. And of course, she got a lot of no's. Me, myself, as an entrepreneur, I constantly get no's from people around me, but also from myself. I tell myself a lot, no, probably you should quit this. Is it worth it? Should you keep trying when it's time to retire? And then it's no. I believe in this. And I willing and able to make it work. Imagine that you say, okay, I can't do this anymore. I will forget about this. Then what about all that time and more
Yeah.
effort that you put? Then it goes down the drain. You know?
Yeah, I think one of my worst fears is just this regret of giving up Pionero at the wrong time or too soon, giving up Pionero too soon, and then in a few years time, like seeing someone else doing it really, really successfully and thinking, oh God, what if I just stuck it out a little longer? It's just what if. And so I don't know, I think as long as I'm passionate and still loving what I'm doing, as long as I still believe in what we're doing, I'm going to keep going. I think, maybe there will come a point where I'm just like, maybe, but
Why?
I don't know.
I won't. I will not.
I know. I don't think it will. I don't think it will. I mean, for me, as long as we're seeing progress, even if it's slow progress, I'm encouraged. I think that's what motivates people at the end of the day. Is not necessarily you get to the top of the mountain, but you're a few steps closer. You're a few steps closer. As long as I'm a few steps closer than I was last year, which I definitely am, then thanks to you and all the support I've had, and then I'll keep going. And yeah, so yeah, it's a journey.
Yeah, it's a journey, but also think that there, like most ventures or most projects, don't reach that break-even point until the third, fourth year of being in business with a new product. For example, in your case, you just launched your product.
Yeah.
So you still have a long journey before you, but you can also look back and see all the baby steps you took and all the all the things that have happened and how much more clarity you have right now.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think we're hugely more clear. Like when we first started, I was trying to explain what we do and people were like, what? You do what? I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, and now I explain it in a couple of sentences and people just get it. Like, oh, that's great. That's a great idea. I was like, oh wow, that's so great how actually people get it now. People actually understand what I do and why it's important. So that's really important to me, that people do see the value of it.
What would you recommend people that want to get more involved with the movements and the grassroots and the nonprofits that are in their environment, or in Guatemala, for example, that they just don't want to live in this world of one?
I think something to remember, and actually it's going to be a blog post I put up soon, is there are many ways to support nonprofits. It's not just money, right? So actually I've to the top of my mind, because I've just written a blog post of 6 ways you can support nonprofits. You can obviously, there's the classic, give a donation. Great, that's hugely important, actually, because one of the biggest issues for nonprofits is their operating costs and their admin costs, which, they're not attractive, but they're necessary to run, and they do need money and donations for that. So obviously that's the first one, the obvious one. There's also, volunteering. Now with, everyone working remotely, and people pivoting a bit more with working remotely, there's so many remote volunteering opportunities. We couldn't have our map and our database without having remote volunteers. I think we had about 30 volunteers working remotely for us to get to where we are. So there's so much stuff that nonprofits need help with in your community as well as in Guatemala, that you can help virtually. And with everyone now used to Zoom and everything, like it's just, why not? There's so much more. So a lot of nonprofits need help just with skills. What skills do you have that you can help nonprofits? Is it graphic design? Is it copywriting? Is it, so those types of things. As for Guatemala, as I said, our map is free to go on. You can see the whole nonprofit environment there. You can filter by whatever theme area you're interested in. You know, if you think I really want to help women and girls empowerment, you can filter by those nonprofits and have a look at what is around and go on their websites and do. Obviously, we would recommend. Personally, I recommend very strongly our partner nonprofits because I know them very well. But you can filter by those as well. So it's I recommend to do your homework if you want to get more involved with nonprofits, especially do your homework, whatever that means to you. So kind of, and just think a bit more about outside the box of how you can help, because it doesn't have to necessarily be money. We wouldn't be where we are without the volunteers that we've had. So I think that's probably what I'd say.
We will definitely put the link to the interactive map in the podcast notes so people can check it out.
Yeah, please do.
Of course. And the links to Pionero's Instagram and to your Instagram.
Oh, please, yes.
Yeah, and all these kind of things, because I think it's a good start to just see what's out there, even if it's in Guatemala. I mean, it should be an interactive map of any nonprofit organization in the
world. Yeah, right. It should be. It should be.
But you can go there and check what are the important things that you need to know about a nonprofit.
Yeah, absolutely. And that could be also just if you're an academic or you want to do some research on the sector as well. You know, it's a useful tool for that type of person as well. It's helpful for everybody. We hope.
Yes. Harriette, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me.
I am so thrilled about, Pionero and the future of Pionero and whatever you have prepared.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming to have brunch with me today.
Thank you.
Always my pleasure to talk to you.
All right, me too. All right. Take care. Thank you.